Welcome. If you're hearing these words right now, something inside you is ready for change. Maybe you've been feeling stuck. Maybe you're tired of living the same patterns over and over. Maybe you know deep down that you're capable of more, but you haven't figured out how to unlock it yet. Here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. The life you want isn't on the other side of luck. It's not waiting for perfect circumstances. It's not dependent on someone else giving you permission or opportunity. The life you want is on the other side of a decision you make right now, in this moment, to stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. This isn't just another motivational message that fires you up for an hour and then fades away. This is about real transformation, the kind that changes how you see yourself, the kind that rewires your daily habits, the kind that makes you unrecognizable to the person you were a year ago. Over the next hour, we're going to explore what it really takes to build an extraordinary life, not the highlight reel version you see on social media, the real version, the one that requires work when nobody's watching, the one that demands you face uncomfortable truths, the one that asks you to become someone you've never been before. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Chapter 1. The Mirror Doesn't Lie. There's a question I want you to ask yourself right now, and I want you to answer it honestly. Not the answer you wish was true, not the answer that makes you feel good, the real answer. Here it is. If you continue living exactly the way you're living right now, where will you be in 5 years? Think about that. Your current habits, your current effort level, your current priorities. If nothing changes, what does your future look like? Does that image excite you, or does it concern you? Most people avoid this question because they already know the answer, and it scares them. They know that their current trajectory isn't leading to the life they dream about. But instead of changing course, they distract themselves. They stay busy with things that don't matter. They convince themselves that someday things will be different. But here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday never comes unless you make it today. The first step to transformation is getting brutally honest with yourself about where you are. Not where you were, not where you could be, where you are right now, because you can't change what you won't acknowledge. Look at your life with clear eyes. How do you really spend your time? What do you give your energy to? What are you building versus what are you consuming? What are you becoming versus what are you avoiding? This isn't about judgment. This isn't about beating yourself up for past mistakes. This is about clarity. Because clarity is power. When you see things as they really are, you can finally make decisions based on reality instead of wishful thinking. Many people spend their entire lives living in a story they tell themselves. I'm too busy to work out. I don't have time to learn new skills. I'll start next month when things settle down. These stories feel true because we repeat them so often. But they're not true. They're just comfortable lies that protect us from the discomfort of change. The mirror doesn't lie. Your bank account doesn't lie. Your health doesn't lie. Your relationships don't lie. The results you're getting in life are a direct reflection of the actions you're taking. And if you don't like the results, you have to change your actions. This is where most people get stuck. They want different results, but they're not willing to become a different person. They want to be healthier, but they won't change what they eat. They want to be wealthier, but they won't change how they spend or invest. They want better relationships, but they won't change how they communicate. You cannot have a new outcome with old behaviors. That's not how life works. If you want something you've never had, you must do something you've never done. So let's make a commitment right now. Let's agree that from this moment forward, we're done with the stories. We're done with the excuses. We're done with the justifications. We're going to look at reality, accept it, and then do something about it. Because the beautiful thing about this moment is that it doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried and failed before. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made. All that matters is what you do next. Your past does not define your future unless you let it. And today, right now, you get to decide who you're going to be. You get to draw a line in the sand and say, everything changes from here. That's the power of this moment. That's the power of honest self-reflection. When you stop hiding from the truth, you can finally start building something real. Chapter 2. The Architecture of Excellence. Excellence is not an accident. It's not something that happens to lucky people. It's something that's built piece by piece, day by day, through intentional choices and disciplined action. Think about any great achievement you admire: the athlete who wins championships, the entrepreneur who builds an empire, the artist who creates masterpieces, the parent who raises remarkable children. None of these things happen by chance. They happen because someone made a commitment to excellence and then backed it up with relentless work. But here's what most people misunderstand about excellence. They think it's about talent. They think some people are just born with special gifts that make success easier. And yes, talent matters. But talent without discipline is wasted potential. Talent without consistency is just a party trick. The real architecture of excellence is built on 4 foundations: clarity, consistency, commitment, and courage. Let's break each of these down. Clarity is knowing exactly what you want and why you want it. Most people have vague wishes. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want to make a difference. But vague wishes produce vague results. You need crystal clear vision. What does success look like for you specifically? What does happiness mean in your life? What kind of difference do you want to make, and for whom? When you have clarity, every decision becomes easier. You can ask yourself, does this move me closer to my vision or further away? And based on that answer, you know what to do. Without clarity, you're just wandering, hoping you end up somewhere good. Consistency is doing the work even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Anyone can work hard when they're motivated. The people who achieve extraordinary things are the ones who work hard when motivation is nowhere to be found. They show up on the bad days. They push through when it's boring. They understand that consistency is the compound interest of self-improvement. Think about it this way. If you improve by just 1% every day, you won't notice much difference tomorrow or next week. But compound that improvement over a year and you'll be 37 times better than when you started. That's the power of consistency. Small actions, repeated over time, create massive results. Commitment is staying the course when things get difficult. And they will get difficult. There will be moments when you want to quit, when you doubt yourself, when the obstacles seem too big, when the progress seems too slow. Commitment is what keeps you going when your feelings are screaming at you to stop. Commitment means you've made a decision that isn't up for daily debate. You don't wake up each morning and ask yourself, do I feel like working toward my goals today? You wake up and you work toward your goals because that's who you are now. It's not negotiable. Courage is taking action despite fear. It's not the absence of fear. It's moving forward with fear as your companion. Every person who has ever achieved anything significant has felt afraid. The difference is they didn't let fear stop them. They felt the fear and did it anyway. Courage is starting before you're ready. It's speaking up when your voice shakes. It's trying even though you might fail. It's being willing to look foolish while you're learning. It's choosing growth over comfort again and again and again. These 4 foundations work together. Clarity gives you direction. Consistency gives you momentum. Commitment gives you resilience. Courage gives you the ability to take the first step and keep taking steps. Now, let me tell you what happens when you build on these foundations. You start to develop what I call an excellence mindset. This is a way of approaching everything you do with a standard of quality and care. People with an excellence mindset don't cut corners. They don't do just enough to get by. They don't phone it in. Whether someone's watching or not, they give their best because their standard isn't external, it's internal. They're not trying to impress others, they're trying to honor themselves. This mindset transforms everything. Your work becomes better, your relationships deepen, your health improves, your confidence grows because you're not living reactively anymore. You're living with intention. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. But building this architecture takes time. It requires patience. We live in a world that promises instant results. Lose 30 pounds in 30 days. Get rich quick. Hack your way to success. And while shortcuts might give you quick wins, they don't build lasting excellence. Real excellence is built like a cathedral, stone by stone, day by day, with care and precision and dedication. It's built in the quiet moments when nobody's cheering. It's built in the struggles that nobody sees. It's built through the mundane repetition of doing the right things over and over. And here's the beautiful part. Once you start building this way, it becomes self-reinforcing. Success builds on success. Confidence builds on confidence. Each small win makes the next one easier. Each disciplined choice strengthens your ability to make more disciplined choices. You become someone who finishes what they start, someone who keeps their word, someone who rises to challenges instead of shrinking from them, someone who makes things happen instead of waiting for things to happen to them. That's the architecture of excellence. It's not complicated, but it's also not easy. It requires you to show up differently, to think differently, to choose differently. Are you willing to build it? Chapter 3: Breaking the Chains of Mediocrity. Let me ask you something. What does mediocrity cost you? It's not a trick question. Really think about it. What are you giving up by settling for average? What dreams have you put on hold? What potential have you left untapped? What version of yourself have you never met because you stayed comfortable? Mediocrity is expensive. It costs you growth. It costs you an opportunity. It costs you self-respect. It costs you the chance to see what you're really capable of. And the worst part? It often doesn't feel like a cost at the time. It feels safe. It feels reasonable. It feels like you're just being realistic. But there's a difference between being realistic and being defeated. Being realistic means acknowledging challenges. Being defeated means letting those challenges define your limits. Most people don't consciously choose mediocrity. They drift into it. They make small compromises. They lower their standards little by little. They stop pushing themselves. They accept good enough instead of demanding excellence. And over time, those small compromises add up to a mediocre life. The chains of mediocrity are comfortable. They're familiar. They don't ask much of you. You can cruise through life, do what's expected, avoid discomfort, and never really test your limits. And in exchange, you get safety, predictability, the absence of failure, but you also get the absence of triumph, the absence of growth, the absence of discovering who you could become if you truly pushed yourself. Breaking these chains requires you to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. It requires you to look at the areas where you've settled and ask yourself, why am I accepting this? Is this really my best? Or have I just convinced myself it's good enough? Here's what I've learned. The moment you decide to demand more from yourself, everything changes. Not because the world changes, because you change. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You start finding solutions instead of excuses. You start taking responsibility instead of placing blame. Breaking free from mediocrity means rejecting the path of least resistance. It means choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. It means doing what's necessary even when it's inconvenient. It means holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else holds you to. Let me give you some specific examples of what this looks like in real life. It means waking up early when your bed is warm and comfortable because you know those quiet morning hours are when you do your best work. It means having difficult conversations instead of avoiding conflict because you know that honest communication builds stronger relationships. And it means investing in yourself, your education, your skills, your health, even when it would be easier to spend that money on immediate gratification. It means saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. It means finishing what you start even when the initial excitement has worn off. It means being willing to fail spectacularly in pursuit of something meaningful rather than succeeding at something that doesn't matter. These choices are hard. That's why most people don't make them. That's why most people settle for mediocrity. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't be here listening to this, looking for a way to level up your life. One of the biggest chains holding people in mediocrity is comparison. They look at where others are and use that as their measuring stick. Well, I'm doing better than most people. At least I'm not as bad as them. This is a trap. Your competition isn't other people. Your competition is your potential. The only comparison that matters is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you improving? Are you becoming more of who you're capable of being? That's the only scorecard that counts. Another chain is fear of judgment. People stay mediocre because they're afraid of what others will think if they aim high and fall short. They're afraid of being criticized. They're afraid of standing out. They're afraid of being seen as arrogant or ambitious. So they play small. They dim their light. They hide their gifts. But here's the truth. People who criticize you for trying to be excellent are often the same people who feel threatened by your growth because it highlights their own lack of effort. Their opinions don't matter. What matters is whether you're honoring the potential inside you. The final chain I want to address is the illusion of comfort. Mediocrity promises comfort, but it's a lie. Yes, it's comfortable in the short term, but in the long term, there's nothing more uncomfortable than looking back on your life and wondering what could have been. There's nothing more uncomfortable than regret. Breaking free from mediocrity is uncomfortable now, but it leads to a life of fulfillment. Staying in mediocrity is comfortable now, but it leads to a life of regret. Choose your discomfort wisely. So, how do you break these chains? You start by making a decision, a real decision, not a wish, not a hope, a decision. You decide that mediocrity is no longer acceptable. You decide that you're capable of more and you're going to prove it. You decide that the temporary discomfort of growth is worth the permanent upgrade in your life. Then you back that decision with action. Small actions at first. Maybe you commit to reading for 30 minutes every day. Maybe you start working out 3 times a week. Maybe you begin learning a new skill. Maybe you start that project you've been putting off. These actions don't have to be dramatic. They just have to be consistent, because consistency is what turns decisions into destiny. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can have a good week. The people who break free from mediocrity are the ones who have good years, good decades, good lives. And as you start taking these actions, something amazing happens. You start to build evidence that you're capable of more. You start to trust yourself. You start to develop momentum, and that momentum carries you further than motivation ever could. Breaking the chains of mediocrity isn't easy, but it's necessary if you want to live a life that means something, if you want to make an impact, if you want to become the fullest expression of who you're capable of being. The chains are real, but they're not locked. You have the key. That key is your decision to demand more from yourself, to refuse to settle, to pursue excellence even when it's hard. Use that key. Break free. Your extraordinary life is waiting on the other side. Chapter 4. The Daily Revolution. Revolutions don't always happen in big, dramatic moments. Sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen in the quiet hours of the morning, in the choices you make when nobody's watching, in the small disciplines you practice every single day. Your daily routine is either creating the life you want or preventing it. There's no middle ground. Every morning you wake up, you're either moving toward your goals or away from them. Every hour you spend is either invested in your future or wasted on your comfort. Most people dramatically underestimate the power of their daily habits. They think big results require big actions. And yes, there are moments where big actions matter. But those moments are built on a foundation of small, consistent, daily practices. Think about it this way. You don't get out of shape because of one bad meal. You get out of shape because of thousands of bad meals over months and years. You don't go broke because of one unwise purchase. You go broke because of years of spending more than you earn. You don't have weak relationships because of one moment of neglect. You have weak relationships because of consistent patterns of not showing up. The reverse is also true. You don't get fit from one workout, but from hundreds of workouts over time. You don't become wealthy from one smart investment, but from years of living below your means and investing the difference. You don't have strong relationships from one good conversation, but from consistently showing up, being present, and caring deeply. Your daily routine is the operating system for your life. And just like a computer, if your operating system has bugs, everything else runs poorly. But if your operating system is clean, efficient, and well-designed, everything else runs smoothly. So let's design a daily revolution. Let's create a routine that doesn't just help you survive, but helps you thrive. First, let's talk about mornings. How you start your day determines how you live your day. If you start to be rushed, reactive, and chaotic, your whole day will have that energy. If you start calm, intentional, and focused, your day will reflect that. The most successful people in the world across every field have one thing in common. They own their mornings. They don't wake up and immediately check their phone. They don't start their day by consuming other people's agendas, emergencies, and opinions. They start their day by focusing on themselves, their goals, their mindset. What does this look like practically? It might mean waking up an hour earlier than you need to, using that hour for exercise, meditation, reading, planning, or working on your most important project. It might mean keeping your phone in another room so you're not tempted to scroll first thing. It might mean having a morning ritual that grounds you and reminds you of your purpose. The specifics matter less than the principle. The principle is this: take control of the first hour of your day before the day takes control of you. Next, let's talk about priorities. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they're busy with the wrong things. They confuse activity with productivity. They spend their days checking off tasks that don't matter while the tasks that would actually move them forward get pushed to tomorrow. You need to identify your leverage points. These are the activities that, if you did them consistently, would create the most significant positive change in your life. For most people, there are probably 3 to 5 of these activities. Maybe it's spending focused time on your most important work project. Maybe it's exercising daily. Maybe it's having meaningful conversations with your family. Maybe it's learning a high-value skill. Maybe it's working on your business or side project. Whatever these leverage points are for you, they need to become non-negotiable parts of your daily routine. Not things you do if you have time. Things you do because they're essential to the life you're building. Here's a powerful question to ask yourself every day. What's the one thing I could do today that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? That's your leverage point for the day. Do that first. Before email, before meetings, before anything else. Make progress on what matters most. Now let's address energy management. Time management is important, but energy management is critical. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have energy, you can't use it effectively. Your energy comes from 4 sources: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. You need to actively manage all 4. Physical energy comes from sleep, nutrition, and movement. Are you getting enough quality sleep? Are you fueling your body with foods that energize you or drain you? Are you moving your body regularly? These aren't optional if you want to perform at a high level. Mental energy comes from focus and recovery. Are you giving your brain periods of deep, uninterrupted focus? Or are you constantly context switching and multitasking? Are you giving your mind time to rest and recharge? Or are you consuming content from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep? Emotional energy comes from positive relationships and emotional regulation. Are you spending time with people who lift you up? Are you managing stress effectively? Are you processing emotions in healthy ways? Or are you carrying around unresolved conflicts and suppressed feelings that drain you? Spiritual energy comes from meaning and purpose. Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Are you connected to something bigger than yourself? Or are you just going through the motions? When you manage all 4 types of energy, you become unstoppable. When you neglect any of them, everything suffers. Let's talk about evening routines. Just as important as how you start your day is how you end it. Your evening routine prepares you for the next day. It's where you reflect, recharge, and reset. A powerful evening practice is to review your day. What went well? What didn't? What did you learn? What will you do differently tomorrow? This reflection turns experience into wisdom. Another important evening practice is preparation. What are your 3 most important tasks for tomorrow? What do you need to have ready? What potential obstacles might come up and how will you handle them? 5 minutes of planning in the evening can save you an hour of confusion in the morning. Finally, protect your sleep. Turn off screens an hour before bed. Create a calm environment. Let your mind wind down. Quality sleep is the foundation of everything else. When you're well rested, you make better decisions, have more energy, and handle challenges more effectively. Now, here's the hard truth about daily routines. They're easy to design. They're hard to maintain because life happens. Unexpected things come up. You get sick, you travel, you have crises to deal with. The question isn't whether you'll be disrupted. The question is how quickly you get back on track. Excellence isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. It's about bouncing back quickly when you fall off. It's about not letting one bad day become a bad week. It's about recommitting to your standards as soon as you realize you've slipped. The daily revolution isn't about making massive changes overnight. It's about making small improvements consistently. It's about stacking good decisions on top of good decisions until those decisions become who you are. You become what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you become disciplined. If you repeatedly choose growth, you grow. If you repeatedly choose excellence, you become excellent. It's that simple, and that's hard. So start today, not tomorrow, not Monday. Today, choose one thing in your daily routine that you're going to improve. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's turning off your phone during dinner. Maybe it's reading for 20 minutes before bed. Pick one thing and commit to it for 30 days. Then add another and another. Over time, these small changes compound into a completely transformed life. That's the power of the daily revolution. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it works, and that's what matters. Chapter 5. The obstacle is the advantage. Let me tell you something that might change how you see challenges forever. The obstacles in your path aren't preventing your success, they're creating it. I know that sounds backwards. When you're facing a difficult situation, it doesn't feel like an advantage. It feels like a problem, a setback, something you wish wasn't there. But what if I told you that the most successful people in history became successful not in spite of their obstacles, but because of them? Think about it. The entrepreneur who faces rejection from investors learns to refine their pitch and becomes a better communicator. The athlete who suffers an injury learns about their body and comes back stronger. The artist who gets criticized develops thicker skin and a clearer vision. The person who loses everything learns what truly matters and builds their life on a stronger foundation. Obstacles do three things for you if you let them. They reveal your character, they develop your skills, and they redirect your path towards something better than you originally planned. Let's start with character revelation. When everything is going well, it's easy to think you're strong, disciplined, and capable. But you don't really know what you're made of until you face adversity. Obstacles strip away the facade and show you who you really are. Are you resilient, or do you crumble at the first sign of difficulty? Are you creative, or do you give up when the obvious solution doesn't work? Are you committed, or do you quit when things get hard? You don't know the answers to these questions until you're tested. And here's the beautiful thing about being tested. Every time you pass a test, you prove something to yourself. You build evidence that you can handle hard things. That evidence becomes confidence, and confidence gives you the courage to take on even bigger challenges. Now let's talk about skill development. Easy times don't develop skills. Challenges do. If you never had to solve difficult problems, you'd never become a good problem solver. If you never had to work with limited resources, you'd never become resourceful. If you never had to overcome setbacks, you'd never develop resilience. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to develop a skill you'll need later. The person who builds a business during a recession learns how to be efficient and creative in ways that someone who built during boom times never had to. When the next crisis comes, guess who's better prepared? The student who struggles with difficult material and has to work harder than everyone else develops a work ethic that serves them their entire life. The person who came from nothing and had to fight for every opportunity develops a hunger and appreciation that can't be taught. Your obstacles are your training ground. They're preparing you for bigger things, but only if you engage with them instead of avoiding them. This brings us to redirection. Sometimes what looks like an obstacle is actually life pushing you in a better direction. The job you didn't get leads you to the career you were meant for. The relationship that ended makes room for the one that will fulfill you. The failure that devastated you teaches you the lesson you needed to learn. You can't see this at the moment. At the moment, it just hurts. It's frustrating. It's unfair. But if you look back on your life, I bet you can identify moments where what seemed like the worst thing that could happen actually set you up for something better. This doesn't mean obstacles aren't real or that they don't hurt. It means they serve a purpose if you let them. The question is, what's your relationship with obstacles? Do you see them as enemies or teachers? Do you avoid them or engage with them? Do you let them stop you or use them to propel you forward? Here's a framework for turning obstacles into advantages. When you face a challenge, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what can I learn from this? Every problem contains a lesson. Maybe it's teaching you about your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. Maybe it's showing you a flaw in your approach so you can adjust. Maybe it's revealing what really matters to you. Look for the lesson. Second, how can I grow from this? Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you're stretched beyond your current capacity. This obstacle is asking you to become someone you haven't been before. Someone more skilled, more resilient, more creative, more patient, more strategic. Who do you need to become to overcome this? Start becoming that person. Third, what opportunity is hidden here? Every crisis contains opportunity. The industry that's disrupted creates space for innovation. The problem that everyone complains about is a business opportunity for someone willing to solve it. The gap in the market is an opportunity for someone paying attention. Look for what others miss. Let me give you some practical ways to develop an obstacle mindset. Stop complaining. Complaining feels good temporarily, but it keeps you stuck. It focuses your energy on the problem instead of the solution. When you feel the urge to complain, redirect that energy into problem solving. Ask, what can I do about this? Instead of, why did this happen to me? Expect obstacles. Don't be surprised when challenges arise. They're part of any worthwhile journey. When you expect them, you're not derailed by them. You see them as checkpoints, not roadblocks. This is just part of the process. Study how others overcame similar obstacles. You're probably not the first person to face this type of challenge. How did others navigate it? What strategies did they use? What did they learn? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Learn from those who've walked this path before. Focus on what you can control. You can't control what obstacles appear, but you can control how you respond to them. You can control your attitude, your effort, your creativity, your persistence. Pour your energy into what you can influence and let go of what you can't. Reframe the narrative. The story you tell yourself about obstacles determines how you experience them. If you tell yourself, this is terrible, I can't handle this, why does this always happen to me? You'll feel defeated. If you tell yourself, this is challenging, but I'm capable and I'll figure it out, you'll feel empowered. Same obstacle, different story, different outcome. Take action, even small action. When you're facing a big obstacle, it's easy to feel paralyzed. You don't know what to do, so you do nothing. But doing nothing makes it worse. Take some action, even if it's small. Make a phone call, do some research, ask for help, create a plan. Any forward movement is better than standing still. Here's what I want you to understand. The obstacles you're facing right now are not accidents. They're not punishments. They're not signs that you should give up. They're opportunities disguised as problems. They're your chance to prove what you're capable of. They're the universe asking, how bad do you want it? Your answer to that question will determine whether you use obstacles as stepping stones or stumbling blocks. The path to anything worthwhile is filled with obstacles. If it was easy, everyone would do it. The obstacles are the filter. They separate those who really want it from those who just kind of want it. They separate the committed from the curious. They separate those who will become extraordinary from those who will stay ordinary. So when you face your next obstacle, and you will, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? Don't look for sympathy. Look for strategy. Don't hope it goes away. Figure out how to go through it. Because on the other side of every obstacle is a stronger, wiser, more capable version of you, and that version is worth fighting for. The obstacle is the way forward. Use it. Chapter 6, The Compound Effect of Small Wins. There's a principle in physics called momentum. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. This principle doesn't just apply to physical objects, it applies to your life. When you're stuck, staying stuck feels natural. When you're moving forward feels natural. The hard part is transitioning from stuck to moving. And the key to making that transition is understanding the power of small wins. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They want dramatic transformations overnight. They want to lose 50 pounds, build $1 million business, completely overhaul their life all in the next 90 days. And when that doesn't happen, they get discouraged, they give up, they go back to being stuck. What they don't understand is that real transformation doesn't happen through massive action. It happens through small, consistent action over time. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you have two paths in front of you. Path A requires you to make massive changes all at once. Overhaul everything. Work 16-hour days. Make huge sacrifices. Push yourself to the absolute limit. Path B requires you to improve by just 1% every day, just 1%. Which path do you think leads to better long-term results? Most people would choose path A because it feels more dramatic. It feels like you're really doing something. But here's what happens on path A. You burn out. You can't sustain that level of effort. Within a few weeks or months, you crash. You go back to zero. Maybe even worse than zero, because now you've also lost confidence in your ability to change. Path B looks unimpressive at first. 1%? That's nothing. You won't even notice the difference tomorrow. But here's what happens when you improve by 1% every day for a year. You end up 37 times better than when you started. Not 37% better, 37 times better. That's the compound effect. Small wins compound. Each one builds on the last. Each one makes the next one easier. Each one adds momentum. And over time, those small wins create massive transformation. Think about how this applies to different areas of your life. Health and fitness. You don't need to work out for 2 hours a day to transform your body. You need to work out for 30 minutes a day consistently for months. You don't need a perfect diet. You need to make slightly better food choices consistently over time. Small wins, compounded, career and finances. You don't need to make $1 million this year. You need to increase your skills and value consistently. Save a little more. Invest a little more. Network a little more. Learn a little more. Small wins, compounded, relationships. You don't need grand gestures to build strong relationships. You need to show up consistently. Listen more, express appreciation more, be present more. Small wins, compounded, personal growth. You don't need to read 100 books this year. You need to read 10 pages a day. You don't need to master meditation immediately. You need to meditate for 5 minutes a day. Small wins, compounded. The beauty of small wins is that they're achievable. You might not be able to commit to working out 2 hours a day, but you can commit to 20 minutes. You might not be able to save $10,000 right now, but you can save $10. You might not be able to completely transform your relationship overnight, but you can have one meaningful conversation today. And when you achieve these small wins, something powerful happens psychologically. You build confidence. You prove to yourself that you can do what you say you'll do. And that proof is more motivating than any inspirational video or quote could ever be. Small wins also create what psychologists call a success spiral. When you succeed at something small, it makes you more likely to attempt the next small thing. And when you succeed at that, you attempt something slightly bigger, and so on. Each success builds on the previous one, creating an upward spiral of achievement and confidence. The opposite is also true. When you fail at something big, it creates a failure spiral. You lose confidence. You're less likely to try again. You start to doubt yourself, and each failure reinforces the belief that you can't succeed. This is why aiming for massive changes often backfires. The risk of failure is too high, and the consequences of that failure are too damaging. But here's the thing about small wins. Even if you miss one, it's not a big deal. You didn't work out today? That's okay. Do it tomorrow. You ate poorly at one meal? No problem. Make the next meal better. The stakes are low enough that failure doesn't derail you. You just get back on track. Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, small wins sound great, but I don't have time for slow progress. I need results now. I understand that urgency, but let me ask you this. How's the fast approach been working for you so far? If you've been trying to make massive changes quickly and it hasn't worked, maybe it's time to try a different approach. Maybe it's time to embrace the compound effect of small wins. Because here's the truth. Fast is slow, and slow is fast. When you try to go fast, you make mistakes, you burn out, you quit, and then you have to start over. That's slow. When you go slow, with small, consistent wins, you build a foundation that lasts. You create habits that stick, you make real progress. That's actually fast because you never have to start over. Let me give you a practical framework for implementing small wins in your life. First, identify your keystone habits. These are habits that, when you do them, make everything else easier. For most people, keystone habits include things like exercise, meditation, journaling, reading, or getting enough sleep. Pick one or two keystone habits to focus on. Second, make them ridiculously small. Don't commit to running 5 miles a day. Commit to putting on your running shoes every day. Don't commit to meditating for an hour. Commit to 1 minute. The goal is to make the habit so easy that you can't fail. You can always do more once you start, but the important thing is starting. Third, stack your new habit onto an existing one. This is called habit stacking. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I brush my teeth at night, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. After I sit down at my desk, I will identify my one most important task for the day. By attaching new habits to existing routines, you're more likely to remember and do them. Fourth, track your wins. Keep a simple record of your small wins. Put a check mark on a calendar every day you do your habit. Seeing that chain of check marks is motivating. You won't want to break the chain. There's something powerful about visual progress. Fifth, celebrate the wins. Don't wait until you've achieved some massive goal to celebrate. Celebrate the small wins along the way. Worked out today? Acknowledge it. Read your 10 pages? Nice job. Had a productive morning? Give yourself credit. These micro celebrations reinforce the behavior and make you want to do it again. Sixth, be patient. This is hard in a world that promises instant results, but real transformation takes time. Trust the process. Trust that small, consistent actions will compound into significant results. You might not see dramatic changes week to week, but compare yourself to 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. That's where you'll see the transformation. Here's what happens when you commit to small wins for an extended period. You stop being the person who talks about change and become the person who embodies it. You stop needing motivation because you have momentum. You stop relying on willpower because you have systems. You stop hoping for a better life because you're actively building it. The compound effect of small wins is the closest thing to a guarantee in personal development. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. You can't post dramatic before and after pictures after a week, but it works every single time. For every person in every area of life. So start today, not with something big, with something small. One small win, then another, then another. String enough of them together, and you'll look back a year from now amazed at how far you've come. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but it continues with a second step, and a third, and a fourth. Keep stepping, keep winning small, and watch what compounds. Chapter 7. Mastering Your Inner Dialogue. There's a conversation happening inside your head right now. It never stops. From the moment you wake up until you fall asleep, there's a voice commenting on everything. What you should do, what you shouldn't do, what's possible, what's impossible, what you're capable of, what you're not. This inner dialogue shapes your entire life. It determines how you see yourself, how you interpret events, how you respond to challenges, how you interact with others, how you make decisions. Everything flows from this internal conversation. And for most people, this conversation is not supportive. It's critical, doubtful, fearful, and limiting. They talk to themselves in ways they would never talk to someone they cared about. They call themselves names. They focus on their mistakes. They remind themselves of past failures. They predict future disasters. This negative self-talk isn't just unpleasant, it's destructive. It kills confidence. It creates anxiety. It leads to self-sabotage. It prevents you from taking risks, trying new things, or believing in yourself. It keeps you small. But here's the good news. You can change it. You can learn to master your inner dialogue. And when you do, everything else becomes easier. Let's start by understanding where negative self-talk comes from. It usually develops from past experiences. Maybe you had critical parents or teachers. Maybe you experienced failures or rejections. Maybe you were bullied or betrayed. These experiences created beliefs about yourself, and those beliefs became the voice in your head. The problem is that voice is often lying to you. It's repeating outdated information. It's generalizing from specific experiences. It's confusing thoughts with facts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. For example, you might think, I'm not good enough. But what does that even mean? Not good enough for what? Compared to whom? Based on what standard? When you examine these thoughts closely, they usually fall apart. They're vague, subjective, and often completely false. So the first step in mastering your inner dialogue is awareness. Start paying attention to what you're saying to yourself. When do you engage in negative self-talk? What triggers it? What are the common themes? You can't change what you're not aware of. Once you're aware of your negative self-talk, the next step is to challenge it. When you catch yourself thinking something negative, ask yourself, is this thought true? Not does it feel true? Is it objectively, verifiably true? Is this thought helpful? Even if it were true, does thinking it help me or hurt me? What would I say to a friend who had this thought? Would I be this harsh with them? What's a more balanced way to look at this situation? This process of challenging negative thoughts is powerful. It breaks the automatic pattern. It forces you to think instead of just reacting to your thoughts. But challenging negative thoughts is just half of the equation. The other half is deliberately creating positive self-talk. You need to replace the negative voice with a supportive one. This doesn't mean lying to yourself with empty affirmations. I'm the best at everything doesn't work if you don't believe it. It has to be genuine and specific. Instead, focus on these types of positive self-talk. Self-compassion. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to someone you love who's struggling. This is hard, but I'm doing my best. It's okay to find this challenging. I'm still learning. Self-encouragement. I can do this. I've handled difficult things before. I'll figure it out, one step at a time. Self-acknowledgement. I worked hard today. I made progress. I showed up. That matters. Realistic optimism. This is challenging, but there are solutions. Things might work out. I can influence this outcome. Identity reinforcement. I'm someone who keeps their word. I'm someone who doesn't give up. I'm someone who faces challenges. The language you use with yourself matters more than you think. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a thought you have about yourself and a fact about yourself. If you constantly tell yourself you're lazy, incompetent, or unworthy, your brain accepts that as truth and you behave accordingly. But if you tell yourself you're capable, resilient, and growing, your brain accepts that instead and you behave differently. You literally become what you repeatedly tell yourself. Let me give you some specific strategies for improving your inner dialogue. Morning affirmations. Start your day by deliberately choosing empowering thoughts. Not vague wishes, but specific statements about who you are and how you'll show up today. Today, I will focus on what I can control. I will respond to challenges with creativity and calm. I will make progress on what matters most. Thought stopping. When you notice negative self-talk spiraling, Literally say stop out loud or in your head, then redirect to a different thought. This interrupts the pattern. You're training your brain that negative spirals are not allowed to continue. Gratitude practice. Regularly focus your internal dialogue on what you appreciate. What went well today? What do you have that you're grateful for? Who added value to your life? This shifts your brain's default from criticism to appreciation. Reframing. When something goes wrong, your inner dialogue automatically interprets what it means. Often, that interpretation is negative. I failed. I'm not good enough. I should give up. Practice reframing. I learned something. I got feedback. I can adjust and try again. Third person self-talk. Research shows that talking to yourself in the third person, using your name, creates psychological distance and helps you think more clearly. Instead of, I can't do this, try, your name can figure this out. It sounds strange, but it works. Question your assumptions. Your inner dialogue is full of assumptions. I know this won't work. They won't like me. I'll fail. Question those assumptions. How do I know that? What evidence do I have? What if I'm wrong? Now, I want to address something important. Mastering your inner dialogue doesn't mean you never have negative thoughts. That's unrealistic. You will still have doubts, fears, and critical thoughts. That's part of being human. The goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts. The goal is to not believe them automatically, to see them as just thoughts, not facts, to choose which thoughts you give power to and which ones you let pass by. Think of your mind like a stream. Thoughts flow through it constantly. Some are helpful, some aren't. You don't have to grab every thought that floats by and examine it closely. You can let the unhelpful ones drift past while you focus on the ones that serve you. This takes practice. Your brain has been running the same thought patterns for years, maybe decades. Those patterns are like grooves in a record. Changing them requires creating new grooves, and that takes time and repetition. But every time you catch a negative thought and challenge it, you're creating a new groove. Every time you choose a more supportive way to talk to yourself, you're strengthening a new pattern. Eventually, the new pattern becomes automatic. The supportive voice becomes louder than the critical one. And when that happens, your whole life changes. You take more risks because you're not constantly telling yourself you'll fail. You recover from setbacks faster because you don't internalize them as proof of your inadequacy. You try new things because your internal dialogue supports growth instead of fearing embarrassment. You show up differently in relationships because you're not constantly questioning whether you're good enough. You pursue bigger goals because you believe you're capable of achieving them. You enjoy life more because you're not trapped in a constant loop of self-criticism. Your inner dialogue is the most important conversation you'll ever have. It never ends. It influences everything. You can't control the first thought that pops into your head, but you can control what you do with it. Will you believe it automatically, or will you examine it? Will you let it define you, or will you choose a different narrative? Will you let the negative voice run your life, or will you cultivate a supportive one? Master your inner dialogue, and you master your life. It's that important. So start paying attention, start challenging, start choosing, start speaking to yourself with the same kindness, encouragement, and belief that you'd offer someone you want to see succeed, because that's exactly who you should be supporting, yourself. Chapter 8, The Power of Environment Design. You are not just a product of your decisions. You're also a product of your environment. The spaces you inhabit, the people you surround yourself with, the information you consume, the triggers you expose yourself to, all of these shape who you become. Most people try to change their lives through willpower alone. They try to resist temptation. They try to force themselves to do better. They try to fight their environment, and they wonder why it's so hard. Why do they keep falling back into old patterns? Why change feels like pushing a boulder uphill? Here's what they don't understand. Willpower is a limited resource. You only have so much of it each day. And when you're constantly using it to fight your environment, you're going to lose. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. It's always on, it's always influencing you, and eventually it will win. But there's good news. You don't have to fight your environment. You can design it. You can create spaces, relationships, and systems that make the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. You can build an environment that pulls you toward your goals instead of away from them. This is one of the most powerful and underutilized strategies for personal transformation. When you design your environment well, you don't have to rely on willpower. You don't have to fight yourself. The right actions become automatic. The path of least resistance becomes the path you want to be on. Let's start with your physical environment. Look around the space where you spend most of your time. What does it encourage? If your workspace is cluttered and chaotic, it's hard to think clearly and work productively. If your kitchen is filled with junk food, healthy eating becomes a constant battle. If your bedroom has a TV and your phone on the nightstand, quality sleep becomes difficult. Your environment is constantly sending you signals about what to do, and you respond to those signals mostly unconsciously. See the couch and the TV? Your brain says, relax and watch something. See exercise equipment? Your brain says, maybe I should work out. See books on your nightstand? Your brain says, I could read. So the question is, what signals is your environment sending you? And are those signals aligned with who you want to become? Here's how to start designing a better physical environment. Remove friction from good behaviors. Make the things you want to do easier. Want to exercise more? Put your workout clothes out the night before. Keep your running shoes by the door. Join a gym that's on your way home from work. Want to eat healthier? Prep meals in advance. Keep healthy snacks visible and accessible. Want to read more? Keep books in every room. Turn off autoplay on streaming services. Add friction to bad behaviors. Make the things you want to do less or harder. Want to spend less time on social media? Delete the apps from your phone. Log out after each use. Use website blockers during work hours. Want to eat less junk food? Don't buy it. If it's not in your house, you can't eat it. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it after each use. Keep the remote in another room. Create visual cues for your goals. Put reminders where you'll see them. A photo of your goal on your bathroom mirror. A note card with your daily habit on your coffee maker. Your mission statement on your computer wallpaper. These visual cues keep your goals front of mind and prompt action. Organize your space for clarity. Clutter creates mental clutter. A messy environment makes it harder to think clearly and work effectively. Take time to organize your spaces. Create a place for everything. Clear surfaces. Clean regularly. When your environment is organized, your mind feels more organized. Design different spaces for different activities. Your brain associates places with activities. If you work in bed, your brain will associate bed with work instead of sleep. If you watch TV at your desk, your brain will want to watch TV when you sit down to work. Create separation. Have a specific place for work, for relaxation, for exercise, for creativity. This helps your brain shift into the right mode. Now let's talk about your social environment. Jim Rohn said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This isn't just a catchy saying, it's backed by research. The people around you influence your behaviors, beliefs, attitudes, and outcomes more than almost anything else. If you're surrounded by people who complain, you'll complain more. If you're surrounded by people who take action, you'll take more action. If you're surrounded by people who settle for mediocrity, you'll be pulled toward mediocrity. If you're surrounded by people who pursue excellence, you'll be pulled toward excellence. Your social environment either lifts you up or pulls you down. There's very little middle ground, so you need to be intentional about who you spend time with. This doesn't mean you cut everyone out of your life who isn't perfect. That's unrealistic and harsh, but it does mean you need to evaluate your relationships honestly. Who in your life supports your growth? Who challenges you to be better? Who believes in you? Who inspires you? Spend more time with those people. And who drains your energy? who constantly complains, who criticizes your ambitions, who pulls you back into old patterns. You don't necessarily have to cut these people out completely, but you may need to limit your exposure to them. Here are some ways to improve your social environment. Seek out people who are where you want to be. If you want to be healthier, spend time with fit people. If you want to be more successful, spend time with successful people. If you want to be more creative, spend time with creative people. Their habits, mindsets, and behaviors will rub off on you. Join communities aligned with your goals. This could be a gym, a book club, a professional organization, a mastermind group, an online community. When you're part of a group pursuing similar goals, you get support, accountability, and inspiration. Find an accountability partner, someone who's also working on self-improvement. Check in regularly, share your goals and progress, celebrate wins together, support each other through challenges. Accountability makes you much more likely to follow through. Be selective about who you take advice from. Everyone has an opinion, but not everyone's opinion matters. Only take advice from people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Only listen to criticism from people who are actually invested in your success. Be the kind of person others want to be around. Don't just take from your relationships. Give, support others, celebrate their wins. Be encouraging, be reliable, be positive. When you become someone who adds value to others' lives, you attract higher quality people into yours. Now let's address your information environment. You are what you consume, not just food, but information. What you read, watch, and listen to shapes how you think, and how you think determines how you act. If you consume negative news all day, you'll feel anxious and pessimistic. If you consume gossip and drama, you'll become more judgmental and cynical. If you consume mindless entertainment constantly, your thinking will become more shallow. If you consume valuable books, courses, and conversations, your thinking will become deeper and more sophisticated. Most people are unconscious about their information diet. They consume whatever shows up in their feed, whatever's trending, whatever everyone else is watching, and they wonder why they feel scattered, anxious, and unfulfilled. You need to curate your information environment as carefully as you curate your physical environment. Limit news consumption. Most news is negative, sensational, and not actionable. It makes you feel informed, but actually just makes you anxious. Check the news once a day if you must, but don't start or end your day with it. Don't have it running in the background constantly. Be selective about social media. Social media can be a tool or a trap. If you use it intentionally to connect with specific people, join valuable communities, learn from experts, it can be beneficial. But if you scroll mindlessly, compare yourself to others, and consume drama, it's toxic. Unfollow accounts that don't add value. Set time limits. Use it purposefully. Consume content that educates and inspires. Read books by people you admire. Listen to podcasts that teach you new skills. Watch documentaries that expand your perspective. Follow thought leaders who challenge your thinking. Make your information consumption intentional and aligned with your growth. Protect your attention. Your attention is your most valuable resource. What you pay attention to literally shapes your reality. Don't let algorithms, advertisers, and attention merchants steal it. Be ruthless about protecting it. Turn off notifications, use focus modes, create tech-free zones and times. Start and end your day with quality input. What you consume first thing in the morning sets your mindset for the day. What you consume before bed affects your sleep and subconscious processing. Instead of scrolling through your phone, read something meaningful. Listen to something uplifting. Prime your mind for success. Finally, let's talk about your systems and structures. These are the routines, processes, and tools you use to manage your life. Good systems make success inevitable. Bad systems make failure likely. Think about your current systems. How do you manage your time, your money, your health, your goals? Do you have systems, or do you just react to whatever comes up? Most people have no systems. They wing it. They hope for the best, and they get inconsistent results. Winners design systems, create morning and evening routines. These bookend your day with intention. We talked about this earlier, but it bears repeating. Your routines are your most important systems. They set you up for success or failure. Use a task management system. Whether it's a simple to-do list, a planner, or a digital app, you need a system for capturing, organizing, and completing tasks. Your brain is for thinking, not for remembering. Get tasks out of your head and into a system. Automate good behaviors. Set up automatic transfers to savings. Subscribe to healthy meal delivery. Schedule recurring calendar events for important activities. The less you have to think about doing the right thing, the more likely you'll do it. Build in accountability. Public commitments, accountability partners, progress tracking, these create external pressure that helps you follow through. Design accountability into your systems. Review and adjust regularly. Set aside time weekly or monthly to review what's working and what's not. Your systems should evolve as you grow. What worked 6 months ago might not work now. Keep optimizing. Here's the bottom line. You don't have to rely on willpower alone. You don't have to fight yourself constantly. You can design an environment that makes the right choices easy and the wrong choices hard. You can surround yourself with people who pull you up instead of drag you down. You can consume information that expands your mind instead of clutters it. You can build systems that create success automatically. This isn't about perfection. You can't control everything in your environment, but you can control more than you think. And the more intentional you are about designing your environment, the easier transformation becomes. Stop trying to be strong enough to resist your environment. Start being smart enough to design it. That's where real, lasting change happens. Chapter 9. The Art of Strategic Focus. In a world of infinite options and constant distractions, the ability to focus has become a superpower. But most people treat focus like it's something that just happens. They hope they'll be able to concentrate. They wish they had more discipline. They wonder why they can't stay on task. Focus isn't something you have or don't have. It's a skill you develop, and like any skill, it requires understanding, practice, and strategy. Let's start with why focus matters so much. Every successful person in every field has one thing in common: the ability to focus intensely on what matters most. They don't do more things, they do the right things, and they do them with complete attention. Steve Jobs said, "Focus is about saying no." He wasn't talking about casual no's. He was talking about saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. Saying no to distractions so you can say yes to your mission. Saying no to everything that doesn't serve your highest goals. Most people suffer from what I call diffused effort syndrome. They spread their energy across too many things. A little here, a little there. They're busy, but not productive. They're active, but not effective. They're doing, but not accomplishing. Real achievement requires concentrated effort. It requires taking all your energy and directing it at one point until you break through, like a laser versus a light bulb. A light bulb spreads light everywhere, but can't cut through anything. A laser focuses all its energy into a narrow beam and can cut through steel. The question is, are you a light bulb or a laser? Are you spreading yourself too thin, or are you focusing your energy where it matters most? Here's how to become more focused. First, get clear on your priorities. You can't focus if you don't know what you're focusing on. What matters most to you right now? Not everything, not someday, right now. If you could only make progress on 3 things this year, what would they be? Those are your priorities. Everything else is secondary or a distraction. Write down your top 3 priorities. Look at them every day. Ask yourself, are my actions today aligned with these priorities? If not, you're off track. Second, eliminate ruthlessly. Most people try to add focus on top of everything they're already doing. That doesn't work. You can't focus on everything. You need to eliminate it. What are you currently doing that doesn't serve your priorities? What commitments can you end? What activities can you stop? What can you delegate or delete? Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Be ruthless about protecting your time and energy for what matters most. Third, time block your priorities. Don't just hope you'll get to your important work. Schedule it. Put blocks on your calendar for your highest priority activities. Protect those blocks like they're meetings with the most important person in your life, because they are. They're meetings with your future self. Fourth, create focus rituals. Your brain needs signals that it's time to focus. Create a ritual that you do every time before deep work. Maybe it's making a specific type of tea. Maybe it's putting on certain music. Maybe it's tidying your desk. Maybe it's reviewing your goal. Whatever it is, make it consistent. This trains your brain to shift into focus mode. Fifth, batch similar tasks. Context switching destroys focus. Every time you shift from one type of task to another, you lose time and mental energy getting back up to speed. Instead, batch similar tasks together. Answer all your emails at once. Make all your phone calls in one session. Do all your creative work in one block. This minimizes switching and maximizes flow. 6. Use the Pomodoro technique or similar methods. Focus isn't about working for 8 hours straight. It's about working in focused bursts with breaks. The Pomodoro technique suggests 25-minute focus sessions followed by 5-minute breaks. After 4 sessions, take a longer break. This keeps your mind fresh and prevents burnout. 7th, eliminate digital distractions. Your phone is probably your biggest focus killer. Notifications pull you out of deep work constantly. Here's what to do. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Put your phone in another room during focus time. Use app blockers. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb or airplane mode. Make it harder to get distracted. 8th, manage your energy, not just your time. You can't focus when you're exhausted. You can't do deep work when your brain is fried. Pay attention to your energy levels throughout the day. Schedule your most important work during your peak energy times. For most people, that's the first few hours after waking up. Protect those hours fiercely. 9th, practice single tasking. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain can't actually do 2 things at once. What you're really doing is rapidly switching between tasks and doing both poorly. Practice doing one thing at a time. When you're in a conversation, be fully present. When you're working on a project, only work on that project. When you're eating, just eat. This trains your focus muscle. 10th, build your concentration gradually. If you currently can't focus for more than 5 minutes, don't expect to suddenly focus for 2 hours. Build gradually. Start with 10-minute focus sessions, then 15, then 20. Like physical training, you need to progressively overload your concentration capacity. Now let's talk about deep work versus shallow work. Not all work is created equal. Some work requires intense focus and creates tremendous value. That's deep work. Other work is necessary but doesn't require much focus and doesn't create much value. That's shallow work. Deep work might be writing, strategizing, creating, solving complex problems, learning difficult concepts. Shallow work might be emails, administrative tasks, meetings, organizing. Most people spend the majority of their time on shallow work and wonder why they're not making real progress. They're busy, but busy with the wrong things. You need to shift the ratio. Spend more time on deep work and less on shallow work. This might mean batching all your shallow work into specific time blocks so it doesn't interrupt your deep work. It might mean delegating or eliminating some shallow work entirely. Your goal should be to spend at least 2 to 4 hours per day in deep work. That's where real value gets created. That's where you make real progress. That's where breakthroughs happen. But deep work is hard. It's uncomfortable. Your brain resists it. It's much easier to stay in shallow work mode, checking emails, scrolling, and attending unnecessary meetings. That's why most people avoid deep work. They stay busy with shallow tasks and feel productive, but they're not actually creating value. Here's another critical aspect of focus: knowing when to say no. Opportunities will come your way. Good opportunities. Interesting opportunities. Opportunities that make you feel important or needed. But if they don't align with your priorities, they're distractions disguised as opportunities. Warren Buffett has a strategy he teaches. Make a list of your top 25 goals. Circle your top 5. Those are your priorities. What about the other 20? They're not your when I have time list. They're your avoid at all costs list. Because those 20 will tempt you away from your top 5. They'll seem important, but they'll prevent you from making real progress on what matters most. This is counterintuitive. Those 20 goals aren't bad. They're good, but they're not great. And good is the enemy of great. When you say yes to good, you're saying no to great. So practice saying no. It's uncomfortable. People might be disappointed. You might feel like you're missing out. But every no to something that doesn't serve your priorities is a yes to something that does. Let me give you a framework for deciding what to say no to. Before you commit to anything, ask yourself 3 questions. Does this align with my top priorities? Am I the only one who can do this, or can someone else do it? Will I be glad I did this 6 months from now? If the answer to any of these is no, you probably should decline. Another element of strategic focus is understanding your peak performance times. Your brain doesn't function at the same level all day. You have times when you're sharp, creative, and energized. And you have times when you're sluggish, unfocused, and drained. Most people ignore this. They try to do important work whenever it fits in their schedule. Bad strategy. You should schedule your most important work during your peak performance times and save low-energy tasks for your low-energy times. For most people, peak performance is in the morning, 2 to 4 hours after waking up. For night owls, it might be evening. Pay attention to your patterns. When do you feel most alert and focused? Protect those hours for your most important work. Also understand that focus is like a muscle. It gets tiring. You can't maintain peak focus all day. That's why breaks are essential. When you feel your focus fading, take a break, go for a walk, move your body, get some fresh air, let your mind rest, then come back refreshed. One more important point. Focus isn't just about work, it's about life. Are you fully present with your family, or is your mind elsewhere? Are you fully engaged in conversations, or are you thinking about something else? Are you savoring your experiences, or are you rushing through them? The ability to be fully present in each moment is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and others. It makes work more effective. It makes relationships deeper. It makes life richer. Practice presence. When you're with someone, be with them. Put your phone away. Make eye contact. Listen fully. When you're doing something, do it completely. Don't half do 10 things. Fully do one thing. Focus is the gateway to excellence. It's the difference between dabbling and mastering. It's the difference between being busy and being productive. It's the difference between spreading yourself thin and making a real impact. In a distracted world, the focused person wins. In a noisy world, the person who can tune out the noise and concentrate on what matters will achieve extraordinary things. So decide right now. Will you continue to let distractions fragment your attention and dilute your efforts? Or will you become someone who focuses deeply on what matters most? The choice is yours. But know this, your ability to focus will determine your ability to achieve. Develop it, protect it, use it wisely. Chapter 10, Embracing the Long Game. We live in an instant gratification culture. We want results now. We want success fast. We want transformation overnight. And when it doesn't happen, we get discouraged. We doubt ourselves. We give up. But here's what nobody tells you. Everything worth achieving takes time. Real growth is slow. Meaningful success is built over years, not weeks. Lasting transformation happens gradually, not suddenly. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't necessarily more talented than you. They're not smarter. They're not luckier. They just understood something crucial. Success is a long game, and they were willing to play it. Think about anyone you admire, any great achievement you respect. None of it happened quickly. The successful business that looks like an overnight success, it took years of invisible work. The best-selling author, they wrote for years before anyone noticed. The fit person, they've been working out consistently for years. The expert in their field, they've been studying and practicing for a decade or more. What you see is the result. What you don't see is the years of grinding, failing, learning, and persevering that created that result. This is the long game. And if you want to achieve anything significant, you need to embrace it. Let's start with why the long game matters. There's a concept in economics called compound interest. When you invest money and it earns interest, then that interest earns interest. And over time, your money grows exponentially. The key is time. The longer you let it compound, the more dramatic the growth. The same principle applies to everything else in life. Your skills compound, your relationships compound, your reputation compounds, your health habits compound. Everything you do consistently over time creates compound returns. But compound growth doesn't look impressive at first. In fact, it looks discouraging. You work hard for months and barely see results. You might improve by 1% or 2%. That's barely noticeable. So you're tempted to quit. You think it's not working. But if you keep going, something magical happens. All those tiny improvements start stacking. The growth accelerates. What looked like nothing becomes something. Then something becomes significant. Then significance becomes extraordinary. This is why most people never achieve great things. They quit too early. They expect linear growth. You put in X effort, you get X results. But growth isn't linear. It's exponential. You put in massive effort and get minimal results for a long time, then suddenly you get explosive results. James Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. You're working hard, but you're still below the threshold where results become visible. It feels like you're getting nowhere, but you're not getting nowhere. You're building, and if you keep building, you'll break through. The problem is most people quit in the plateau, right before the breakthrough. They don't give compounding enough time to work its magic. So how do you develop the patience and persistence to play the long game? First, shift your focus from outcomes to systems. When you focus on outcomes, lose 50 pounds, make $1 million, write a best-selling book, you set yourself up for frustration because outcomes take time and you have limited control over them, but you have complete control over your systems, your daily actions, your habits, your processes. Focus on showing up every day. Focus on doing the work. Focus on improving your system. Trust that if you get the system right, the outcomes will take care of themselves. This makes the journey sustainable because you're not constantly disappointed by slow progress. Second, measure progress in years, not days. Stop asking, "What did I accomplish today?" Start asking, "What did I accomplish this year?" Compare yourself to where you were a year ago. That's where you'll see real change. Day-to-day progress is often invisible. Year-over-year progress is undeniable. Third, celebrate small milestones. Even though you're playing the long game, you need wins along the way. Otherwise, you'll lose motivation. So create milestones. Celebrate when you hit them. Worked out 30 days in a row? Celebrate. Finished your first draft? Celebrate. Saved your first $1,000? Celebrate. These small celebrations keep you going during the long journey. Fourth, remember why. When you're deep in the plateau and results feel far away, it's easy to forget why you started. You need a compelling reason that's bigger than the discomfort of the moment. Why does this goal matter to you? What will achieving it give you? Who will you become in the process? Connect with your why regularly. Fifth, find inspiration in long game success stories. Read about people who achieved great things over long periods. Scientists who worked for decades before a breakthrough. Entrepreneurs who failed for years before succeeding. Artists who created in obscurity before being discovered. Their stories remind you that the long game is normal, not exceptional. Sixth, detach from timelines. Yes, I have goals, but don't attach rigid timelines to them. I will achieve X by this date creates unnecessary pressure and often leads to disappointment. Instead, commit to the process without being attached to when results show up. They'll show up when they show up. Your job is to keep working. Seventh, embrace the plateau. Stop seeing the plateau as a problem. It's not. It's a feature, not a bug. The plateau is where the real work happens. It's where character is built. It's where you develop the discipline and resilience that will serve you forever. Learn to be comfortable in the plateau, because that's where you'll spend most of your time. Eighth, stack small wins. Even though any single small win doesn't seem significant, stacking them creates momentum. 100 small wins over a year is more powerful than one big win. Keep showing up, keep making progress, keep stacking wins. Eventually, the stack becomes a tower. Now, let's talk about delayed gratification. This is one of the most important life skills, and it's increasingly rare in modern society. Delayed gratification is the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a later, larger reward. Studies show that people who are good at delayed gratification are more successful, healthier, wealthier, and happier. Why? Because every meaningful goal requires you to give up something now for something better later. Want to be healthy? Give up junk food now for a better body later. Want to be wealthy? Give up frivolous spending now for financial security later. Want to master a skill? Give up leisure time now for expertise later. The long game is delayed gratification on a massive scale. You're sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term success. And that's hard, because the short term is certain and the long term is uncertain. The short term feels good now and the long term is just a promise. But here's what I've learned. Short-term pleasure leads to long-term pain, and short-term pain leads to long-term pleasure. Choose your pain. You can have the pain of discipline now and the pleasure of achievement later, or you can have the pleasure of laziness now and the pain of regret later. Either way, you're going to experience pain. The question is when. I'd rather experience the pain that leads somewhere than the pain that leads nowhere. Here's another critical aspect of the long game. Consistency beats intensity. Most people try to achieve their goals through intense bursts of effort. They go all in for a week or a month, then burn out and quit. This is short game thinking. Long game thinkers understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity. Showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're not at your best, even when progress is invisible. That's what creates transformation. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be intense. You just need to be consistent, because consistency over time beats intensity every time. Think about it. Who will be in better shape in a year? Someone who works out intensely for a month, then quits, or someone who works out moderately 4 times a week for the entire year? Obviously, the second person. Who will be more knowledgeable? Someone who reads 10 books in a month, then never reads again, or someone who reads 10 pages every day for a year? The second person. Consistency compounds. Intensity doesn't. So stop looking for the intense burst that will change everything. Start committing to the consistent action that will build everything. Let me address something important. The long game requires faith. Faith that your effort will pay off. Faith that progress is happening even when you can't see it. Faith that the compound effect is real. This faith is hard to maintain because you can't prove it until after the fact. You just have to believe. You have to trust the process. You have to keep going based on principle, not proof. But here's what makes it easier. Evidence. Every time you commit to something long-term and see it pay off, you build evidence. You prove to yourself that the long game works, and that makes it easier to play it again. So start building evidence. Pick one area of your life and commit to playing the long game. Track your progress. Celebrate milestones. And when you see results, acknowledge them. Let that become evidence that encourages you to play the long game in other areas. Finally, let's talk about the ultimate long game, becoming who you're capable of becoming. This isn't about achieving a specific goal. This is about the person you become in the process of pursuing your goals. The long game isn't really about the destination. It's about who you become on the journey, because the person you become is what you get to keep. The achievements might come and go. The recognition might fade. The money might be spent, but the person you became through years of discipline, persistence, and growth, that's yours forever. That's the real prize, not the trophy, not the title, not the bank account, the person you evolved into, someone who doesn't quit, someone who keeps their word, someone who does hard things, someone who plays the long game. That person is capable of achieving anything because they've developed the character that success requires. So, yes, play the long game for the results. But more importantly, play it for the person you'll become. Play it because the journey itself will make you stronger, wiser, more resilient, more capable. Play it because in a world of shortcuts and quick fixes, being someone who commits to the long game sets you apart. Play it because the long game is the only game worth playing. Everything worthwhile takes time. Embrace that. Be patient with the process. Be persistent in your effort. And trust that if you keep showing up, keep improving, keep compounding, you will eventually break through. The long game is hard, but the short game is harder. Because the short game leaves you with regret. And regret is the heaviest burden you can carry. Play the long game. Your future self will thank you. We've covered a lot of ground together, from taking ownership of your life to building excellence, from breaking free from mediocrity to creating powerful daily routines, from turning obstacles into advantages to understanding the compound effect of small wins, from mastering your inner dialogue to choosing growth consistently. But all of this information is meaningless unless you do something with it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. You can listen to every motivational message, read every self-help book, watch every inspiring video, but if you don't apply what you learn, nothing changes. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't knowledge. You probably already know what you need to do. The gap is action, consistent, disciplined, intentional action over time. And here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. No one can do this for you. I can't do it for you. Your parents can't do it for you. Your friends can't do it for you. Your circumstances can't do it for you. This is on you. Completely, totally, entirely on you. That might sound harsh, but it's also empowering. Because if it's on you, that means you have control. You're not dependent on anyone else. You're not waiting for permission. You're not hoping someone rescues you. You have everything you need to start right now. The choice is yours. You can close this chapter of your life and go back to exactly how you were living before. You can let these ideas fade into the background. You can return to your comfortable routines, your familiar excuses, your safe limitations. That's a choice. Or you can decide that this is the moment everything changes. You can draw a line and say, before today and after today are different. I'm done settling. I'm done waiting. I'm done playing small. From this moment forward, I'm committed to becoming my best self. That's also a choice. Neither one is right or wrong, but both have consequences. If you choose to stay the same, the consequence is that your life will stay the same. You'll have the same results, the same frustrations, the same regrets. 5 years from now, you'll be exactly where you are today. Maybe a little older, a little more tired, a little more resigned to a life that's less than you're capable of. If you choose to change, the consequence is that you'll have to do things differently. You'll have to get uncomfortable. You'll have to face your fears. You'll have to work hard. You'll have to be patient. You'll have to persevere through challenges. But 5 years from now, you'll be someone completely different, stronger, more confident, more capable, living a life that reflects your potential instead of your limitations. Both paths have a cost. One costs you comfort now and gives you fulfillment later. One gives you comfort now and costs you fulfillment later. You get to choose. But you have to choose. Not choosing is choosing to stay the same. So let me ask you directly, what are you going to do? Are you going to let this be another moment of inspiration that fades? Or are you going to let this be the turning point? If you're serious about changing your life, here's what I want you to do right now. Not later, right now. First, make a decision. Decide that you're committed to growth. Decide that you're done accepting mediocrity. Decide that you're going to do whatever it takes to become your best self. Make that decision clearly and completely. Not, I'll try, or I'll see what happens. Decide. Second, identify one area where you're going to start. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one area. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your career, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your mindset. Pick one. Third, identify one small action you can take today. What's one thing you can do in the next 24 hours that moves you toward the person you want to become? It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. Write it down, then do it. Fourth, commit to consistency. That one small action, do it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. For 30 days, build the habit. Prove to yourself that you can keep a commitment. That's how you build trust with yourself. Fifth, track your progress. Keep a record. Write down what you did each day, how you felt, what you learned, what challenges you faced, what you're proud of. This documentation serves two purposes. It keeps you accountable, and it shows you how far you've come when you need encouragement. Sixth, adjust as needed. This isn't about perfection. You'll mess up. You'll miss days. You'll fall short. That's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to keep moving forward. When you mess up, learn from it and get back on track. That's all. Finally, remember why this matters. You're not doing this to impress anyone else. You're not doing this because you should. You're doing this because you deserve to live a life that reflects your potential. You deserve to feel proud of who you're becoming. You deserve to see what you're capable of when you truly commit. Life is too short to spend it being less than you're capable of being. It's too precious to waste on comfort and safety and settling. You have gifts that the world needs. You have potential that's waiting to be realized. You have a life that's begging to be lived fully. But none of that happens by accident. It happens by choice, by decision, by action, by commitment, by persistence, by believing in yourself even when it's hard, by showing up even when you don't feel like it, by doing the work even when no one's watching. This is your life, not a practice run, not a dress rehearsal. This is it. The only one you get. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to let it slip by while you wait for the right moment? Or are you going to seize it right now and make it extraordinary? The power is in your hands. It always has been. But now you know it. You understand it. You can't unknow it. So you have a choice. Use that power or waste it. Become who you're capable of becoming, or stay who you've always been. Create the life you want or accept the life you have. I know what I hope you choose, but ultimately, it doesn't matter what I hope for. It matters what you decide. So decide right now. What's it going to be? Whatever you choose, I want you to know this. You are capable of more than you think. You are stronger than you know. You are worthy of everything you dream of, but you have to believe it. You have to act on it. You have to become it. The extraordinary life you want is possible, but only if you're willing to do what's necessary to create it. Are you willing? If the answer is yes, then stop waiting. Stop preparing. Stop planning. Start doing. Start now. Start today. Start with one small step, and then take another, and another, and another, until those steps become a journey. And that journey becomes a transformation. And that transformation becomes your life. This is your moment. This is your choice. This is your chance. What are you going to do with it? The power to change your life has always been within you. Now go use it.